Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We are jumping straight into the heart of the cardiovascular device market today.
We have to.
A late-breaking regulatory decision has just completely shaken up the competitive rhythm for treating one of the most common heart conditions out there.
It's an unavoidable topic, really. We're talking about atrial fibrillation, or AFib.
Right.
And if you just look at the demographics, it's a massive and, frankly, a growing health issue.
How big are we talking?
Well, right now it's estimated to be around 12 million Americans over 65, but the projections, they suggest that number is almost certainly going to double in the next 20 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, anytime a major technological shift happens in how we treat AFib, it's vital. For patients, of course, but also for the billions of dollars in the electrophysiology space.
Absolutely. So our deep dive today is focused on Abbott Laboratories and the recent U.S. FDA approval of their Volt Pulsed Field Ablation system, or PFA. This is Abbott joining a very, very competitive race, but it looks like they're doing it with a pretty significant technical edge.
That's the story, yeah.
We're going to unpack the clinical data, the workflow innovation, and what this all means for the big incumbents like Medtronic and Boston Scientific.
Let's get into it.
All right, let's start with the hard news. December 22nd, 2025. The FDA gives the green light to the Abbott Volt PFA system. Was this a narrow approval, or did they get the full indication they were hoping for?
Oh, they secured the full sweep. And that is a key competitive advantage right out of the gate.
The full sweep meaning what, exactly?
Meaning the approval covers treatment for both paroxysmal AFib, that's the kind where episodes come and go.
The intermittent kind.
Exactly. And also for persistent AFib, which is defined as episodes that last longer than 7 days straight.
And why does that dual indication matter so much? Treating persistent AFib is fundamentally a lot harder, correct?
It is. It's a much bigger challenge. Persistent AFib requires more complex, often longer procedures because those erratic electrical signals are just more established in the heart muscle.
So getting approval for both.
It means Abbott can immediately go after a much broader, more clinically complex patient population. It shows their data from the Volt-TAF study was robust enough to convince the regulators.
And Abbott isn't taking a slow approach to the launch here.
No, they are moving fast. They already had their CE mark in Europe, and now they are transitioning immediately to commercial cases right here in the U.S.
Even though the first PFA systems got approved about 2 years ago. So Medtronic and Boston Scientific, they already have a foothold.
They do, but Abbott is signaling a lot of confidence. The CEO, Robert Ford, basically said, and I'm quoting here, they are right on time and we're complete with the full portfolio.
That's a confident statement.
It is. It speaks to how they view the Volt system, not just as another PFA device, but as a next generation, more integrated platform.
Okay, so that confidence, it must come from the core technology itself. Pulsed field ablation. We should probably ground ourselves in what PFA actually is.
Absolutely. It's a massive departure from the older methods. You can think of PFA as the third generation of cardiac ablation.
Moving beyond the thermal approaches.
Exactly. For decades, doctors used either radiofrequency, which is basically burning tissue with heat.
Or cryoablation.
Right, which is freezing tissue. Both are effective. They work. But they carry these unavoidable risks because they're not selective.
They can't tell the difference between the bad heart muscle and the critical stuff right next to it.
Precisely. PFA avoids both heat and cold. It's a non-thermal procedure that uses very high-energy electrical pulses. This is where you hear the term irreversible electroporation.
Sounds complicated.
It's a fancy term, but the idea is simple. The electrical fields create these tiny, permanent pores in the membranes of the targeted heart cells.
A bit like perforating the cell wall.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yep.
And that perforation leads to cell death, which stops the abnormal electrical signals causing the AFib.
And the genius of it is that it's tissue selective.
That's the whole ballgame. It targets the heart muscle, but it spares the nearby structures that are super sensitive to thermal damage.
And those are the structures that keep physicians up at night when they're using heat or cold.
They really are. You have to think about the esophagus, which runs right behind the part of the heart they're often working on.
Right.
Thermal energy can damage it, which can lead to, well, a catastrophic complication. Then there's the phrenic nerve, damage that, and you can impair a person's breathing. PFA significantly de-risks all of that.
And we've already seen the market is shifting this way. I mean, Medtronic's PFA sales were up something like 300% year over year recently.
It's a full-scale market revolution, not just a small change. The clinical data backs it up too. Big trials like Advent show PFA is just as effective as thermal ablation.
So around 73% success at 12 months.
Yep. But it often does it faster and with a much cleaner safety profile. So the real question now is, if PFA is already a success, how does Abbott's late entry Volt system stand out?
And that's where it gets really interesting for investors. We know PFA works, but Abbott's system seems to be about improving not just what the doctor can do, but how they do it.
It all comes down to workflow integration. That's the unique selling proposition.
Break down all-in-one workflow for us. What does a typical procedure look like, and how does Volt simplify it?
So in many of the, let's call them legacy PFA systems, the doctor might need one catheter to map the electrical signals,
Okay.
then maybe another one to pace the heart, and then they have to switch again to the actual PFA catheter to deliver the energy.
This sounds like a lot of procedural downtime, a lot of swapping things in and out.
It is. The Volt catheter is designed to do all three of those things, mapping, pacing, and ablating, with a single device.
So no more catheter exchanges.
Exactly. And if you're a busy electrophysiologist doing, say, 10 or 15 of these a week, eliminating those exchanges adds up fast. It's a huge operational efficiency.
Shorter procedures, faster room turnover. That's what hospitals want to hear.
That's the financial lever for Abbott, 100%.
And the hardware itself is unique, too, this balloon and basket design. What's that about?
This is critical for making sure the procedure actually works long-term. Abbott's design combines the stability of a balloon with the precise contact points of 8 separate splines.
Like little fingers?
Kind of, and the balloon, which can be filled with saline, is what optimizes the tissue contact.
Why is contact so important?
Because if you don't have good, firm contact, the energy transfer is inefficient. The lesion you create might not be permanent, and the AFib could come back.
So the balloon pushes the splines against the heart wall.
Uniformly and firmly, yes, and it works. In their CE Mark study, they were creating durable lesions with just 4.7 applications per vein on average. That's fast and efficient.
And then there's the software integration. Volt is tied to Abbott's N-Site X mapping system.
Which is a very clever ecosystem play. N-Site X is already a market leader in 3D mapping.
So doctors who use N-Site X get this seamless experience.
A seamless experience with real-time visualization of exactly where the catheter is touching. This mandatory bundle, the Volt catheter plus the N-Site X system, is it's key to Abbott's whole revenue strategy.
The workflow advantages are clear, but I think the most powerful moat Abbott has is probably around the safety data.
I would agree with that.
So let's get into the results from the VILTI-AF study. What stood out?
Well, first, the efficacy numbers were very solid. You're looking at 83.5% of patients with paroxysmal AFib being arrhythmia-free at 12 months.
And for persistent.
58.1%, also very solid. But what really, sets Volt apart is the safety profile. The overall primary safety endpoint was just 2.7%, extremely low.
Okay, let's focus on the complications PFA is meant to avoid, those big ones we mentioned.
This is the headline. This is the number Abbott is going to put on every slide. In the 12-month follow-up for the CE Mark study, they reported a 0 incidence rate for several major complications.
0.
0. That means 0 patients suffered from pulmonary vein stenosis, acute kidney injury, coronary artery spasm, or, and this is the big one, persistent phrenic nerve injury.
0 persistent phrenic nerve injury. Given that this is a known serious risk with the old methods, how much leverage does that give them?
It's a massive differentiator. For a doctor, 0 is the most important number on a safety dashboard.
Of course.
It just reduces their clinical anxiety. If you have a choice between 2 systems that work equally well, but one has a trial showing 0 incidence of these key risks, the choice becomes very clear very quickly.
There was also a theoretical concern about hemolysis, the breakdown of red blood cells with PFA. Did Abbott address that?
They did, head-on, with preclinical data. They measured the plasma-free hemoglobin right after the ablation, and the level was 16.4 milligrams per deciliter. Now, the clinical threshold for what's considered major hemolysis is 50.
So they're operating way, way below that danger zone.
Exactly. They basically engineered away what was a theoretical risk for the technology as a whole.
Okay, one final point on differentiation, and it's a big one for patients in hospitals.
Yeah.
Conscious sedation.
This cannot be overstated. I mean, This is a huge deal for expanding market access and driving down costs.
Because most of these procedures require general anesthesia?
They do. Which means an anesthesiologist, a full team, longer recovery. It's a whole production. Abbott showed that procedures using conscious sedation, where the patient is just relaxed but awake, had no significant difference in safety or effectiveness.
That changes the entire economic model of the procedure.
It does. Faster recovery, shorter procedures, lower facility costs. For a hospital administrator, that conscious sedation option is a huge green light to adopt the Volt system.
Okay, time for our segment. This is not financial advice.
Your favorite part.
We've established that Abbott's Volt system has this incredible combination of safety data and a super efficient workflow. The market has kind of treated PFA as one big thing, but this feels different.
It feels like a premium, highly differentiated product launch. It's designed for high volume efficiency and maximum safety.
Which directly challenges the incumbents.
Yeah.
So let's get specific. Our outrageous but plausible trade idea for today is a pairs trade. Long Abbott, ticker ABT.
Okay.
And short Boston Scientific, ticker BSX. What's the rationale for targeting Boston Scientific specifically?
The thesis here is pure accelerated market share cannibalization.
Okay.
Abbott's single catheter, conscious sedation, zero complication system is just tailor-made for high-volume EP labs trying to boost throughput and cut costs.
You're betting the operational efficiency is just too good to ignore.
I'm betting it translates into displacement and faster than people think. Boston Scientific is all in on expanding their PFA offerings, but if Abbott can just come in and scoop up the highest end, most efficient part of the market...
It will drive volume growth for Abbott faster than the analysts are modeling.
Exactly. Faster than consensus predicts. And that creates immediate margin pressure on incumbents like BSX. It's a bet that workflow and safety will drive adoption much, much more quickly than the street expects for a late entrant.
Right. To recap the deep dive. Abbott's Volt PFA system has FDA approval for the full spectrum of AFib.
Right.
It's hitting the market with major differentiators.
Yeah.
An all-in-one workflow, a truly superior safety profile with those 0 data points, and that game-changing option for conscious sedation.
So given the massive growing need for these procedures and this clear technological leap in how they're done, we leave you with this final provocative thought.
Lay it on us.
What kind of premium valuation multiple should be assigned to a company that can successfully bundle truly innovative ablation tech with a proprietary mapping system like Volt and N-Site X compared to rivals who are still relying on less integrated multi-catheter solutions?
It feels like it changes the game entirely, something to think about as this system rolls out across the country. And remember, everything we discussed here is strictly for information and educational context.
It's definitely not investment advice.